pleasure as always. And I think now that the shackles are off, the fact he's announced his retirement last weekend. And yes, let's be honest, we're good pals. It's Paul Felder. And just real quick, Paul, before we get started, can you cut the bullshit in the commentary?
I got to put some respect on your name and Fabia's name as well. So,
how dare you? How dare you? How's everything, my man? Sort of life-changing moment announcement last weekend. A long sort of journey in the UFC, and way back since. Who was your first fight again in the UFC? I can't even bloody remember at this rate.
It was.
I interviewed you before. It was
Jason Sago.
Jason Sago. That's it. How are the emotions, my man? A few days, let it sink in, and the announcement is out, the news is out. How's everything?
It's good. It definitely feels good to know that I don't have that pressure, right? Even if you don't have a fight on the books and you're an active fighter, especially if you're one who's been in the top 10 for a while, even the top 15, right? Guys are just eyeballing your spot and drooling over beating your ass and taking everything you've ever worked for. So it's exciting and overwhelming for a long time. And it's been tricky for me for, I'd say, the last year or so, because like we were just talking about a second ago, I kind of really have felt this way since the Hooker fight, but then that RDA fight happened and it kind of gave me a false sense of reignition into the love of the sport, and then it faded away pretty quick, and I'm just enjoying myself, man. I'm loving all the time at home with Aisling and Christine, and I got the house now here in the suburbs. I'm close to my mom. I'm not far from my brothers. Obviously, my one brother still lives down in Philly, which is 20 minutes away, and
the Mad Tommy.
The man, Thomas Felder. John Felder lives even closer, my younger brother. So I get to see my whole family on a regular basis. I still get to work. I get to be around all the fighters in the UFC and everything involved in it. Yeah. And just stay safer, man. I still feel really healthy at 37. I feel like even athletically, I still got a lot to give. And I've just decided to pull the tag a little short on this fighting career and focus on being the best commentator, getting back into acting, seeing the family, and also focusing on this new sport that I'm venturing out into in triathlon. And now I don't expect anything from it. I know there's no money in comparison to what I've been able to achieve as a UFC fighter, but it's more for the passion and the mental challenge than it is anything else. And it's keeping me sharp and keeping me fit.
Is there any sort of, like, I know you, and you're a guy, as we've talked about lots of times in the past, you find it hard to stay out of the gym and things like that, but with this triathlon, are you going to attack it at a pro level? Is that the plan? Because I know you have a lot planned, like you've 4 or 5 triathlons planned. You were supposed to be actually coming here to Dublin, or to Ireland, to Cork, but that was bloody cancelled in August, so because of our stupid bloody government here and how bad the rollout's been. But is that the plan? Do you need that to really keep that itch scratched, really, the competitive edge?
I think the competitive edge will be scratched through the training of it and through just competing, right? I'm competing right now as an age grouper, right? Anybody can compete as an age grouper. So I'm 35 to 40, which is probably one of, if not the most competitive divisions that you can have for that type of sport. A lot of guys get into this sport a little older into their age and close to mid-age, because you need a little bit of time. You need a little bit of money to do this sport. You can't just decide at 19 years old you have no money to get a tri bike, to be able to have time to do, an hour and a half of swimming, an hour, 2 or 3 hours of biking. And so I think as long as I can be competitive eventually as an age grouper, this first one, I just want to get through it and have a good time for myself. I'm definitely not going to just finish these things. Like I could finish them last year. It's not a matter of that. I want to be competitive on race day, but this first one is just figure out the transitions and kind of just get a lay of the land, right? I've never done something like this. It's going to feel a lot like my first fight, where it's going to be a lot of adrenaline, very exciting, and I've just got to make sure to calm myself down and get through it.
What were the conversations like with, because I know your mom was pretty, your mom Marion, she was pretty keen for you to retire after the Dan Hooker fight. What did Christine and your mom say to you? Because I know those conversations were had after the Hooker fight, because even in your mind, I think we texted at the time and I was sort of saying to you, you know, with all the injuries, Paul, you know, maybe, you know, are you going to take a look at your career? And I think you did after that fight, especially. What were the conversations like with them in the lead up to this decision?
Well, I think my mom has always erred on the side of, you know, hanging it up early because she, you know, it's her son. She worries about me. And Christine and even everybody else in my family and my brothers and you know, really close friends didn't think I was really done. Duke didn't think I was really done. Brian Butler didn't really think I was done. And it's because they know me. They know I'm a moody guy. You know this. Now I'll get into a piss and just be mad at everybody. 10 minutes are completely fine. I just had to get it out of my system. So I think most people thought it was just something that I had to get out of my system, as well as me. I was like, all right, I'll get through this. I'll get motivated again. And just months and months kept going by, and I was having more negative thoughts towards competing again, not towards sport, but just towards what could happen to me. I feel like I've pushed the limit pretty hard in this sport, physically, and what I've done, and the fact that I still feel pretty good, I was like, man, I think it might be time to get out of this. But everybody was really supportive and kind of just leaving it up to me and didn't want to try to force me into it. So everybody was even leaning on the side of, no, you're going to fight again, which was starting to frustrate me because in my mind, I'm like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And everybody is telling me, just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait, just wait. And so I did. I waited and I waited, and then finally I was just getting so frustrated with fighters wanting to fight me and not getting their opportunity. I'm not fighting, and not that I'm afraid of them. You know, Islam Makhachev wanted to fight, and listen, that dude deserves to be fighting some of the best guys in the world. So do these other guys that are just around me. But I just wasn't feeling it, and that's when I knew it was time. I was like, okay, I'm getting fight offers, and it's not exciting me. Time to.
What did Sean Shelby or Dana White say to you when you told them that decision that you're going to retire? Because obviously after the RDA fight as well, you signed a new 5-fight contract. I think you were getting up on the upper echelon of the pay scale. It was a big decision on your end, obviously, from a financial point of view as well. But what was their thought process, and what did they say to you when you told them that decision?
Well, Sean was really cool about it, and it was in contact with Brian Butler, my manager, and myself. He would call me as well and just wanted to hear from me myself on how I felt and how long I needed. Do I need more time? And initially, that's how it started, right? I talked to him, and he's like, all right, well, let's just, you don't have to fight. Just wait and see. And if something excites you, we'll bring you back. And obviously, you'll get knocked down the rankings as time goes on, but no big deal. We'll get you a fight that makes sense when time comes around. And I was like, okay, at first I was like, all right. But then that got frustrating because you're just getting called out and you got to sit there, and I'm a commentator. So it's not like I'm in hiding, right? I'm right out in front of everybody. Look where I'm at. You can even call me out to my face right in front of me. And Dana was fine with it too. Everybody was fine with it. They know I've put in my time, and they just wanted to make sure that it wasn't one of those things where I was going to be retired for a week and then immediately want to come back. So that's why everybody kept pushing me to just really mull it through and give it some time, and I did. I mean, it's been since the Hooker fight, and at least since the RDA November, that I've been feeling this way, and it only got more intense towards wanting to retire as time went on, not less. So that's when I knew, all right, this is probably time to let it go. If I'm not motivated now, and I'm 37, 38's around the corner, before I know it, I'll be 40. And I didn't want to be fighting at 40. That was something I always told myself. Unless I'm champion, I would not be fighting at 40. And I'm not there.
It's fair, dude. It's fair, man. I totally agree. Listen, Paul, I often say this, and I often talk about this. Sometimes I think people, especially that are involved in this sport, the fans, the media, sometimes, I think we need to step back and realise what you guys go through. You've had a whole host of injuries. You spent so much bloody time in hospital after fights. What would be your message to the haters and the morons online, because I see some of the shit you guys get, and it's absolutely off the fucking charts, and I don't really fully think they understand what you guys go through to put so much entertainment and so much on the line for them.
Man, they have no idea, you know, even more than the hospital stays and things like that, right? Because that's after the fight. I've made some good money after some of those hospital stays and things like that. But I'm talking, you're talking days of living off of your family and your brother, and needing to work a bouncing job on Saturday nights where you're watching drunk idiots, you know, eyeball you thinking they can beat your ass every night, and staying up till 3, 4 in the morning, cleaning up trash cans and shit off the floors and piss off the urinal, driving dumpsters up and down hills in the back because there was a big World Cup party that weekend. And then you got to get up and spar on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and get your face beat in, and then go eat absolutely nothing and do it, rinse and repeat. And then these guys can sit on their couch and tell you that you're a freaking loser, and you're a POS, and you're an average. Somebody just recently wrote to me that the only reason that I retired on live broadcast was so that anybody would give a shit, and that that's the only reason anybody cared. So good luck on your retirement. # average fighter. Average fighter, Niall. I'm an average fighter. 17-6, not the greatest record in the world. Winning record in the UFC, top 10 in the world for how many years now, and I'm an average fighter. This is what these guys, not just me, but every high-level athlete across the board has to deal with, and it just shows the insecurities of people. It's like, do you realize what we've had to do to get to that point, and the injuries and the suffering that we've gone through? And they're like, oh, well, you get paid. And it's like, yeah, well, you get paid to go to your desk job, or you get paid to go to your job. Nobody shows up there and calls you, you know, everything under the sun. Yeah. But you know what? It's all done. It's all done. And that guy, hey, and I was just like, who hurt you? That's what I said. Who hurt you? What makes you this big loser that you're sitting at home with nothing going on in your life, and you decide that you're going to berate people that have tried to be great, even if they weren't fully successful?
It's unbelievable, dude. And I think the industry I'm in as well, I think, you know, a lot of the guys in the media industry are, you know, pretty bad at it as well at times. I think you just need to step back on a human level, especially when guys are in hospital and they're getting damaged and beaten up. And, you know, obviously the weight cutting, we've talked about it so many times in the past. You talked about the RDA fight, absolutely fucking insane in my opinion, what some people say to you guys. I have to ask you, and you mentioned your mum, you mentioned Christine, obviously your dad. You know, what would your dad say to you now on the retirement? What do you think he'd say? I think it's a good question.
Oh, he'd be like, about time. It's about time. Finally.
You think so? Yeah.
Done? Are you really done? That's what my dad would say. Are you sure? And he would try to be super, just, you know, oh, whatever. Gonna brush it off. All right, good. I'm glad. Good job. But inside, he would be very, very, very relieved that I'm not putting my physical well-being on the line anymore, and that I get to be on TV, and he can still watch the fights and relax, because he liked, you know, he enjoyed watching the sports, just not when I was fighting. So yeah, I think he'd be like, all right, it's about time. Thank God. I don't have to watch that anymore.
You're in some exciting fights, Paul. I'll give you that one.
I know. It's not like I made it easy on my mom. Right.
Jesus Christ.
My poor family, girlfriend, brothers. You know, both brothers have been to multiple fights on good and bad. I remember John. I think my brother John, my younger brother, I think he said he walked out when I fought Charles Oliveira because he didn't want to watch me get submitted.
Jesus fucking hell.
And he heard the crowd go nuts, and I think he came back into the arena, and I'm just sitting there blowing the hell out of him. That's a good one.
Well, I'm going to mention that fight to you in a second. But listen, do you regret taking that RDA fight now? Is there any regrets?
No, that's great. No, because at first I was like, oh man, I don't know. I don't want to risk really by going out there on such short notice, maybe missing weight, and maybe getting beat up really bad. And I was still thinking about retirement anyway. So that could have been how I went out, was a complete embarrassment. But in hindsight now, it's like, no, that's perfect. I got to really show who I am, that I was in a position that I could take the fight. I could save the day for the UFC. I made weight and got to show some of these guys on the card who had full training camps that there's no excuse for that kind of BS. I got to show that you should always be a professional and be ready to go out there and compete against no matter who in the world. And I showed that on any given day, I am one of the best guys in the world. This guy's a former champion. He's in the best shape of his life, was getting ready to face Islam in this grueling back and forth fight. And I came in there with no MMA training and put on a 5-round fight. Yeah, I lost the fight. It was not a split decision. But I'll take it. And, yeah, so no, that's the best way for me to end my career, I think. Even though it was a loss, that's still the story of my career. I've been a bit of a high-end journeyman, if you will. You know what I mean? I've kind of always gotten a little further than I think really anybody ever anticipated. And to then pull it off and end it with that, that's a great way to go out.
And I think you've got obviously a huge amount of love from the fans after that fight as well, stepping in 5 days notice. It's a good way to wrap it up. I think it's a fairy tale ending. And, you know, I've often said it to you, I'd like to see guys go out a lot sooner than they do. And I think we all sort of feel that way in MMA. It's sort of hard for guys to really get away from that adrenaline and that training and everything that comes with stepping foot in the octagon.
Yeah, it's a real fine line. Because you think you've still got it until you don't. And you never know when that day is going to come. And if you don't get out just slightly before it, it will end badly for you. You know, you'll go out there and you'll be embarrassed a few times before you, and then you're just going to keep chasing. Yeah. I need to end on this. I need to end it this way. It's never going to be that way. You're never going to end it. Maybe some people will, and it'll be lucky, you know. But in the sport of fighting, you can't predict anything. You certainly can't predict going out in style. So when you feel like your body or your mind is not there anymore, please, to anybody that's still fighting that maybe they shouldn't be, just stop. You know, live your life. There's other stuff we can do. There's other ways to be competitive. And obviously it's easier for me, and I recognize that. It's easier for me. It's easier for Cormier, for Michael Bisping. And when Dominic Cruz eventually decides that he's done, which I don't think he is. I mean, the guy still just proved that he's being very competitive right now. But, you know, it's easier for us when we've got this job and we get to fill all the voids of, the, you know, being in the spotlight a little bit, being around the sport and, you know, being active and on camera. If you don't have that, I understand that it's not easy. But for the sake of your health, you got to hang it up when it's time to hang it up.
I agree, man. Definitely 100%. Take that on board, guys. If anyone's listening in, I think it's something that, you know, a lot of guys could seriously take a look at. Listen, I got to ask you, obviously, there was a lot of reaction. You went through this with Ariel on his show. You know, you got a lot of messages. You know, Conor McGregor was even tweeting you again. He seems to have a thing about tweeting you the whole time. Any other further messages from anyone else during the week? Any sort of special ones?
Oh my God, there's been so many that I know if I say one person, I'm going to forget somebody else, and I start to do that on. You know, obviously all of my counterparts that I work with have all reached out to me, and everybody's been really awesome, from the UFC, from Dana White, Sean Shelby, to my, you know, co-workers, Michael and DC and John Anik and Brendan, and the whole gang has been really good to me. And obviously my family and friends are all extremely supportive of me, and I think excited to have me around a little bit more and kind of pick up where I left off.
That's what they're telling you now, Paul. That's what they're telling you now. You give it a month or two, they'll want you bloody out of there. They'll be telling you to get back in the cage.
But that's why, yeah, right. They will miss that. They're going to miss going to fights and seeing me competing. They can take that and shove it where the sun shines. They're not the ones getting
I think that's the definitive answer that Paul is totally fucking dumb when he says stuff like that. Listen, one more on sort of the retirement end of things, right? Say if the UFC came to you, in December and Charles' opponent falls out with a week to go, and is there anything that would get you back in there, especially against Charles?
Charles, I don't know, man. A lot of people are asking about Charles, and that's not going to happen, right? But it would take a severe payday and a big chunk of the UFC's money to get me to the point where it wouldn't be worth it for them financially to get me in there, because I'd be making more than the champion if they gave me what I would need to get back in there. But I do really enjoy seeing his success, and I mean that. This is a guy that I was able to get in there and compete with and beat him. And I think I truly do think I beat him at a crossroads in his career. And I'm not saying I was lucky. We competed on an even turf that night, and he gave me everything he got, and I was able to withstand it. And a lot of people can't withstand those submission attempts of Charles. And I beat him. I beat his ass that night. But I do think he's a different human being now, and I do think he's a competitor. So I love seeing that. I lost my mind here the night that he became a champion. And I like Michael Chandler too, but to see somebody that I competed against and beat, knowing that my run is probably over, even that night that I'm sitting here watching it, in my mind, I know where I stood in my career. So to see that, it's like, all right, this is all lining up really nicely. I'm ready to be done. I had 2 really amazing fights, 2 main events before I got to throw in the gloves, and then to see somebody I beat go on and become a champion, and I'm the last guy to defeat him.
They can't take that away from you, Paul.
They can't, and that's what's great. It's like, all right, I can walk away with these things. I've had some battles with some really classy, awesome fighters who are still continuing on. Look at Barboza kicking ass at 45.
Yeah,
time we see him, I wish him nothing but the best. I hope that guy goes on and kills it at 145 as well.
So yeah, incredible fighter. I totally agree with you. Listen, any advice for a young scrapper getting into the game? What would be the one thing you'd say to a young and upcoming guy looking to get into the game?
I'd say save your brain, right? Take care of yourself. Don't leave the fights in the gym. Train smarter. Train hard, especially with the cardio. Make sure you are mother effing in shape for this sport, because that will break you. That will break you every single time. I don't care how good you are. If you're not in shape, the other guy will win unless you knock him out. Get in shape. And like I said on some of these other interviews, one of the things I wish I had done, and my God, you've seen it in full effect when I'm not on the discipline side of things, right? I used to get really big, used to have a really poor diet because I would cut so much weight that then when I was able to eat, I would eat everything and want to drink everything. I always trained. That was never the issue. But I developed an eating disorder over the years where it was either 100% dieting and cutting weight and being disciplined, or 100% being an a-hole. And I wish that I
would you go as that far to say it was actually a disorder that you had in your life?
100%. Bro, I would sit weeks after the fight and I would buy like 3 candy bars in the middle of the day and just eat 3 candy bars, and then eat a pint of ice cream and drink, a few beers. I couldn't have it for months and months and months. So then when I got it, I wanted to have it all. So I wish I would have learned how to live a life of moderation all year, so that even in camp, if I wanted to have 1 cocktail at the end of a hard day or 1 beer, no big deal, because I'm never binging it all. So I would say to the young fighters out there, learn to really find an athletic lifestyle and live a balance. And there's a lot of guys that do. I just wasn't one of them. And I know a lot of my friends and teammates and stuff out there. I
think it's our age, though. I think you're 30. What? You're 37, Paul. I'm 38. I think maybe it's our generation, because we didn't, even with health and nutrition, when I was 17, 18, that was only sort of coming in after you finish high school, when you're playing sports in high school. Concussion, sort of the same thing. I think the guys nowadays have become a lot more aware to it. Is that an accurate, fair statement?
Right. Yeah. I think even the way, now, just even with my daughter who's 6 now, right? The way that we feed her and treat her, it's not how I was fed and treated when I was a kid. And it's not to say that I had bad parents. They didn't know.
No, exactly.
They didn't know what we know. I drank so much more soda and pop or whatever you want to call it as a kid. I ate way more sugar than I allow my own child to have now. And it's because over the years and as we evolve, we learn different things. And so, yeah, you're right. I mean, I even weight cutting and dieting, I mean, it was cool. It was like the thing to do. It's like, yo, bro, how much do you cut? If you didn't stay like 25, whatever, it was like, oh, all right, whatever. You're not that big. You should move to 45. I remember early in my career, somebody telling me, oh, what are you, a 45er? And I, 45. I'm a 55er. They're like, oh, you look small. What do you think I did? Got to get bigger. I got to be a bigger 55er. It's like, did that help me? That on over the years help me or hurt me? I don't know.
Fucking hell, crazy game. Did you get your tickets for Conor McGregor versus Poirier 3 yet?
No, and listen, I know a lot of people bragging on me in the UFC. We're waiting to see what happens. I don't even know if I can be there officially, and I really want to go is because Sean Brady's on the card.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'll see Poirier McGregor 3, of course, but it doesn't hurt that Sean Brady's got a huge fight against Kevin Lee on a pay-per-view. Like, that's my boy's, you know, it's his turn. I feel like I'm kind of passing the Philadelphia torch. Eddie Alvarez is strong, though, so until he passes the torch, it's not officially given to Sean.
Eddie's, no, I don't think Eddie's retiring anytime soon from the text I've been exchanging with him, so. What?
I said, not when you're making that ONE FC money.
Yeah, and the stock money as well. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you mentioned Sean Brady there. Yeah, I want to ask you about that. Obviously, Sean is a guy who's made leaps and bounds, and we've talked about him for years, even before he came into the UFC, when he was at CFFC. Incredible talent. That's a really good fight. And you've mentioned about, obviously, you want to help him out in the build up to this fight. But is there any sort of thing in your mind where, you know, you might go down the coaching route? I don't think you've the patience for it from knowing you, but would there be any sort of consideration to go down that route in the future?
I think just selectively with guys that I've been really close with over the years and have kind of watched them climb through the rankings, and Sean and even other guys down at the gym at Daniel Gracie's and some guys at Rufus Sport who I'm really close with. I'd be interested, but I don't know what I have to offer versus what my coaches have to offer. That's where I'm kind of reluctant to do it, right? I mean, I chose these guys as coaches as well, and they're under them. I think they're better off learning from the guys that I learned from. I feel like my part now is to be kind of a mentor and guide them through all the trials and tribulations and the media and the exposure and the fans that are going to berate you and the fans that are going to love you and having good days and bad days and how to, you know, navigate yourself through the game itself. I feel like that's where I can help out and really help guys like Sean know, like, okay, now you got a big pay-per-view. You're going to get some attention. You're going to have some haters now. And I can just show my Twitter feed and be like, bro, this is what you have to look forward to for the next however many years of life. I passed this Twitter hate on. But yeah, that's where I feel like I can help out most, is kind of just being an emotional support guy. And that's about it. As far as coaching, like, I'm not going to teach jiu-jitsu better than Daniel Gracie here in Philly. I'm not going to be a better kickboxing coach than Duke Rufus and our guy John here in Philly for EEFC and boxing and Bozy, who Sean and some of the guys in Philly work with. These guys are so much better at their job than I am. I just I've got a lot of knowledge of the sport and have been through it.
Definitely. Yeah, Sean's an unbelievable talent, man. I can't wait for that fight. That card is stacking up like no other card I think we've seen this year. It's going to be an absolute bloody barn burner. Okay, Paul, you know I got to ask you this. There was an incident, I think, last year in Abu Dhabi. The footage only came to light a number of weeks ago, and it is of the School of Self-Awareness, or whatever the fuck it's called, Joshua Fabia. Listen, I want to play the clip for you, a few seconds of it, and just get your reaction.
Hey, real quick, guys. Real quick, guys, just because you don't know who the hell I am, and you guys heard a lot of shit talk and all the good stuff. let's just cut the bullshit on the commentating. No low blows on this guy. No trying to turn the narrative that he's fucking up his legacy and all that weird stuff. Let's just keep it fair. You want some video? Contact me and I'll send it to you. You want to know what's going on? You want to actually talk to the people doing it? You might actually have to fucking talk to me. And coming at him like he's gonna know all this shit, he ain't. He hasn't been there the whole time. So if anybody needs to actually get those answers, you will have to speak to me. And to do that,
absolutely wild shit. Everyone else knows what happened. What were you going to say there, Paulie?
As soon as he said, let's cut the bullshit, I was giving Josh a chance there. Like when he stood up, I saw him wanting to talk the whole time. I knew what we were in for. I know he's an interesting character, right? So I'm like, okay. And I know that recently he had been very upset about some of the things that have been said in the media. So when he started with that, though, that pissed me off because I have nothing to do with talking trash on him. And if I've ever called Diego's fights, I call it like I see it. I call what's going on in the cage. I've trained with Diego. I just recently even reached out to him again to say, hey, I saw what's going on. I wish you nothing but the best. I hope you're in better hands now. I hope you're healthier, happier, yada, yada. And he thanked me and never had a real issue with Diego. But that son of a bitch, man, it's pathological. It's just self-awareness, more like just self-obsession.
Delusion.
Delusional. And there's reports that I saw, and I don't know how much of it's true or BS, but people coming out finally after all this came out from college days saying that he would just lie through his teeth about being a guru of this. Oh, I study with this. Oh, I do this type of Muay Thai, not that type of Muay Thai that you're doing over there. And I just feel really bad that he goes on now recently and tries to throw Diego more under the bus. It's like, dude, you just really just showed your true colors. If you'd have just drifted off into obscurity after Diego and you split ways, even if you were the one who, quote, initiated the separation of yourself and Diego, you don't go on and throw the guy under the bus after that. You know he's been through it. You know his career has been one of, he's taken a lot of damage. He's been through a lot of wars. He's done a lot for that company. And then you come in and that's how you leave his legacy like that. That pisses me off. Yeah,
listen, the minute he came in and he made that situation about himself, in my opinion, he had no care, no concern about Diego. Yeah. And listen, you know what your role is when you're in the commentary booth. I know what my role is as a reporter and a journalist of this sport. I think there's sort of a divide. And listen, you've seen it happen to me before. I had an issue with a fighter before, going on record and then complaining about it afterwards. I think there's a real issue, Paul, between sort of some fighters and coaches, not all of them, of their thoughts and understanding of what the media actually is and what the media they're supposed to do. I don't think a lot of fighters or coaches realize the role of the media. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, of course. I think we all get our roles confused a little bit here sometimes, and everybody starts drifting in and out of other people's territory. And I think there's stories, right? As a media member, they're telling stories and they're telling the people what's going on, whether it be a Fabia or a corner or a coach or whatever it is. It's like, listen, if there's something going on out there that needs to be talked about, it's going to be talked about. And if you mention it, it's definitely going to be talked about.
It's unbelievable, man. And listen, why did he go in recording that as well? I don't get that. Who was recording? Was it Stefan Bonner recording it?
Yeah, that's when things got really weird for me. I'm like, okay. I thought I knew Stefan.
Yeah.
And he still, even through that, was still like trying to reason with us. Like, I know, but think of it from Diego's side. And we were like, look, none of this is, we get, if Diego's upset with anything and he says it, we're listening. If this guy says it, no longer listening. And there was other encounters where I spoke to him and I was always very calm with him. Even after that, where I'm like, look, we don't have to have a beef. There's no issue, but just know that I'm not out here to throw Diego, of all people, under the bus. This is a guy who has bled for this company, who has put his body on the line for years. And for my entertainment, before I was even signed. I've trained with the guy. I've sparred with the guy. I've sat in saunas with the guy. I've looked up to him as a fighter over the years. No part of me wants to tarnish his reputation. So don't come at me because somebody in the media said something. It's like, well, yeah, they're going to comment on what they see. And what you see is, then you post these things like makes you look bad. Then you post videos of Diego hanging upside down. You try to blame it on the UFC saying, yeah, they had cameras there. It's like, yeah, because you're willing to hang your fighter upside down. You don't think they're going to film it?
Absolutely crazy. Listen, that's my main concern with this whole situation, is how dangerous, you know, this guy can be towards athletes, guys going in and putting their bodies on the line, punching the head off each other. And you have a guy like this, and we talked about it just off air there before we came on, in terms of, you know, everything he says makes absolutely zero sense in any interview I've ever heard of him. But he manipulates it into a situation where he doesn't even let you get in an answer, a rebuttal, and moves on. That's the way I look at it. I think he's just an incredibly dangerous guy to have around the sport. Imagine if your kid was going to a gym or somewhere where he was, you know, head coach of. It's absolutely crazy, some of the videos I've seen online. It's dangerous.
Yeah. He is dangerous. I think anybody like that, right? You see...
And we see it a lot in our sport.
You see these cult-like leaders. If you can manipulate somebody to the point of following you through that, after... You know, you got guys chasing each other with knives, and
that's crazy.
Guys doing stuff that's like, and then he's in the recent podcast talking about how the commission tried to get Diego
unbelievable
to the fight. It's like, no, you left out key points to that story. You told the commission that Diego was going to kill the man and had a death touch
punch. Yeah.
So of course they're going to have a chat with you when you mention murder in the cage. Okay.
Mental. Absolutely mental.
Oh, he's like, apparently Diego was throwing that fight against me. And Mike talked about it all the time. Kiesa would talk about it all the time, that he remembers that they were talking about, you know, that you might be killed in there from this death move that they're going to practice.
Holy mother of God. Listen, I'm just happy he's gone now, to be honest, Jen. You know, I just don't even want to talk anymore. It makes me uncomfortable even watching any of the videos that he puts out, even him speaking. He's a creepy, weird kind of dude. Just get out of here. Listen, a couple more before I let you go. Do you think it'd be a good idea, you know, sort of on that, you know, with some of the fighters and you know, coaches, maybe more so obviously the fighters, the UFC did sort of a media training course with some of the guys. Do you think that'd be beneficial for anyone in, you know, the PI? It's something that's never really brought up amongst the UFC, and you know, I think if, you know, the PI, the facility that it is, they could fit in something out there. Yeah,
I think that would be good for just like an intensive type of thing every now and then, maybe once a year, where especially young new assignees out, and they might do, I mean, once we get back past this COVID lifestyle as well, and we start to open up a little more, we used to have these retreats that was kind of incorporated into the UFC retreats, where we'd have an athlete retreat and everybody on the roster would come out. And the one year though that I went, it was sort of the new athletes on the roster, and I think that's even more beneficial, right? Because if you've been around for 5 years in the UFC, 6 years in the UFC, you probably have at least figured out, or you're just not going to be very good at it anyway, how to deal with interviews, post-fight interviews, media comes and things like that. But as far as guys getting signed right off of the regional scene, maybe right off the Contender Series, they've only had a taste of it. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I know the NBA and a lot of those other major organizations, maybe
the Premier League do it over here with the Premier League do over here with their, you know, the younger players and stuff like that. I think it'd just be, you know, a good idea with, you know, shit like that happening, especially with that plonker, Joshua Fabia. Listen, I don't know if you can actually speak about this. Poirier McGregor 3, who have you got? Obviously, huge fight coming up in the summer. I think the winner gets a title shot against Charles Oliveira. You know, can you make a pick on the fight?
I'm not working that one as of now, so I can.
Are you excited?
Go back and forth. I'm very excited, man. And I'm excited to not be a lightweight currently fighting. Watch these. I'm dead serious. Like, it'll be nice to finally watch these fights, knowing that I don't have to tweet something.
That you're
I don't
at
have
peace.
to bark, find my way in there. I can watch Connor now, and I can watch Connor. Here's the other thing: is I know I want to get this out there too. Is I know me and him over the years have had a little bit of weirdness. Obviously, I'm the American, the Irish dragon, and obviously he's a true Irishman, and he's kind of poked fun at me over the years. And I don't think it was ever anything too serious at all. First of all, let me start with that. But I used to be, and we've talked about this, I used to be a big fan. I used to really like the guys fighting. Even if I didn't like him as a person for points because we were going back and forth, I would always enjoy his fighting style. And same with Poirier. I always loved him as a fighter, but I always thought, oh, I might fight him. So now to be able to go out there and watch Connor and Poirier fight as somebody who's just a fan, I'm excited to do that. And, yeah, I'm not going to make a prediction just because I want to keep all these lightweights that I just left, keep them happy.
For fuck's sake, sitting on the fence as per usual. Listen, is it a better landscape? Do you feel now? Obviously, you're just fresh out of the division, but without Habib there, you know, I think maybe it's a little bit more exciting now the last number of months with Habib officially getting out of the way that he's done with the sport. It's just like this. You feel as though anyone in the top sort of 10 can be a world champion at the moment in that division. Is that sort of the feeling you have as well, looking on now at the sport?
Yeah, and it was even the feeling I had before I left. I was like, wow, this is the time. But it's just when the drive's not there, the drive's not there. But yes, I do think now it's more competitive. Every matchup I think about, right, you think, well, he can beat him. But then if he fights him, he can beat him. I do think, I'm not saying that Charles won't hold it for a little bit, but I do think you're going to see the changing guard quite a few times in this lightweight division before somebody maybe gets mature enough to be able to hold it down for a while. I mean, you know, especially with Poirier and Connor about to go at it, I think whoever wins that is capable of beating Charles, and I think Charles is more than capable of submitting either one of those guys. So it's going to be real interesting. Handler's now maybe going to fight Gaethje. That's rumored.
Holy shit, yeah. No, I do agree with you. I think, you know, if Islam gets up there could be issues for anyone. Yeah.
Makhachev, I mean, he's got a fight coming up against Moises, right?
That's right, Thiago Moises, yeah.
So, first of all, that's a huge opportunity for Thiago. I'm glad that man took that. I know that Islam wanted to be fighting me or somebody ranked higher, but if he gets through Thiago, they can't deny him anymore. Somebody's got to fight that guy up at the top. And if Thiago wins, then shit, you just got a new contender. Yeah.
What a division. Absolutely insane. So when are you fighting the YouTuber, Paul? When's that coming up? When are we going to get that boat fucking rolling or swimming or sailing or whatever?
Tommy Felder texted me. He's like, I'm surprised you haven't been called out by one of these guys.
Yeah, I'm shocked as well. I bet you it's in the works now. Someone will hear this.
You know why? Because they don't want the smoke. They don't want the real blood and guts fighters. They want to pick on poor Ben Askren, who, you know, unbelievable college wrestler and phenomenal grappler. They don't want to pick on the people that's going to go in there, and I might slip an elbow in illegally and just knock your ass out just to prove a point.
Do it for the crack. I'd absolutely love to see that. Anyway, listen, I've got one more set of questions for you. I'm gonna, a few quick fires, right? Because Ariel went over a lot of this, obviously, you know, in that interview during the week, talking about your retirement and stuff like that. Okay, this is your favourites, Paul. Just give me one word answer. Okay, your favourite moment?
New Zealand.
Favourite walkout?
RDA.
Biggest regret?
Not living a cleaner lifestyle year round.
Toughest opponent?
Edson Barboza.
Funniest moment before a fight? If there was one?
Oh, man, yeah. I know I tripped pretty bad one time going into it might have been the fight. I was walking down the hallway and I had my UFC slides on and like totally did like a trip thought. And even in the last one I was taking a pee when they was like, all right, it's time to go.
Shit. One
So I just think
person,
I'm on top.
one person you would have loved to have fought that you didn't.
Justin Gaethje.
Oh fuck! You're teasing us now, Paul, saying that. You can't be saying that. How long have I been saying that to you for? Fuck's sake.
I know. No.
Venue you didn't get to fight in?
Oh, here in Philadelphia, man.
Definitely. Worst weight cut?
RDA.
It was that bad, yeah. We took myself a PT and you talked about it when we were doing the bash.
It's close. There's a possible tie between that and Barboza's number 2.
Shit. That was bad as well in Abu Dhabi?
I was huge for that fight. That was another one where I was like, I'm going to be so much bigger and stronger than Ed, and I'm just going to be. And I was. I cut a ton of weight to be that big, but I was pretty big in the cage. I was probably about 180 pounds in the cage that night.
Okay, best performance in your opinion?
I gotta say, I think my cleanest performance to this day is still when I knocked out Danny Castillo, because the whole fight I was just on. I was just on that night. And I've pretty much been chasing that night and how I performed for some reason for so long. I mean, I was just on that night, man. Like, I was landing every kick, every counter strike. My head movement was on point. I don't know why. I had a lot of injuries in that camp. I had a pretty bad weight cut for that one as well, but I was on. And, a lot of other nights, he might be able to take me down and make that a much more competitive fight. But for some reason, that night, I was on every mark.
I'll go with the Charles one, just to throw it in there. I thought that was your best performance.
But you know what? Exactly. But as far as
we saw a little bit of everything, because Charles's jiu-jitsu, he nearly had you choked out. Somehow you got out of that. Still to this day, I don't know how you got out of that. And obviously then you broke his face effectively. It was just
I'm gonna change one of these on you.
Okay, go on.
Best walkout is now going to be. I got a funny one for you too. I know I'm taking up too much time now.
No, you're not. Go ahead. I'll go all night.
Best walkout probably New Zealand, because I came out to Born in the USA facing Dan and his country. Yeah. That was a pick. And best moment probably and fight was probably Stevie Ray in Scotland with my brother in my corner right after my father had passed away. Very emotional. Crowd against me, turned everybody in that crowd for me. That was great. And funny moment was right before that walkout. Tommy was like not paying attention and like wasn't with us. He's so not used to being in the corner. He was in my corner. That Craig Eckelberg, my other cornerman, was like, Tom, come on. And he's backstage the whole time in my corner in the walkout gear, just like not warming me up. He's not a fighter. So he's just ready to throw up the whole time. That was
Jesus. Fun. That was something, like, man, I'll never forget the noise in there. And, I think Dublin was still the loudest. Then I was cage shot in Cleveland for Overeem Miocic. But fuck me, that was loud. That night in Glasgow was bloody loud in there. They're a loud bunch.
Great.
Are they the best crowd? Were they the best crowd you fought in front of?
Yeah. The Scottish crowd and the New Zealand crowd were probably close, but I'd still give it to Glasgow.
Yeah, there was serious noise in the arena that night. And where was the Hydro Arena in Glasgow? Holy shit! Yeah, I think so. All right, one last one. Craziest moment, just fucking batshit crazy, just wild, mental moment. That's the last one. I have
fighting,
just in general in your UFC career.
Oh wow! I was a part of the bus incident.
Oh,
in Brooklyn. Yeah. Moment, talk about. I mean, I had a fight with Al. That got just.
I was there. Yeah.
That whole week. I mean, I made weight and everything, and then I did the fighting, and I was on the other bus, so I saw it. I was watching them run around and throw dollies through bus windows, and we were just like, "What is this really happening right now?" And everybody, that's him. I was like, "Oh my god!"
The busiest week in my MMA career that week, and it wasn't talking about fighting back here. It was talking about fucking dollies through windows on every bloody news station in Ireland. Listen, Paul, some great memories, my friend. it's been amazing to see you, come right through into the UFC and be a part of your career. So personally, I'd like to thank you, my man. And listen, looking forward to seeing you many more years in the booth. It's always a pleasure. I do appreciate the time.
Well, I got to say the same to you, Niall, and it's bittersweet to be talking to you. Potentially is the last time. Well, for sure, the last time as a fighter. It's weird to think about that, right? That we won't be doing interviews anymore as an active fighter, but there's much more time now for us to drink pints and go see the rural areas of Ireland together. So
yeah, and getting the Guinness, and I have the Kerrygold in the post. I got two slabs of it downstairs for you for the retirement present.
I've been eating almost every morning. When I have a hard bike ride, I eat an English muffin, which I don't know what you guys would even call it over there. It's like
a scone.
It's sort of like a scone. You toast it, you put butter on it, and I've been putting Kerrygold and strawberry jam. And sometimes I'll eat 3 of them before a long bike ride. And delicious.
Listen, dude, always a pleasure. And as I said to you there, best of luck as well with the triathlon coming up. We're looking forward to hearing the results of that, and I'm sure we'll. Fucking shame you're not coming over for that one now in Cork, but I'm sure we'll hook up for a few pints soon. A few 100 pints, I think. Yeah. Especially after this bloody lockdown here in Ireland.
Got some catching up to do.
Appreciate it, brother.
Cheers, bro.